Good afternoon, everybody. It's WinExtra back for 2011 with your edition of Daily Brief, and we do have Mr. Paul O'Flaherty back. And given the fact that I don't see any drooling or gray hairs, I'm taking it you survived the kid-wrangling.
Well, you know, usually after a series of kid-wrangling, like I had the kids there for the last week or so, it's usually not my drool, rather theirs, as you would see. There's plenty of new grey hairs. They're just not showing up very well on camera, I'm afraid. So.
Well, given the fact that we've just gone through the Christmas holidays and New Year's, there's like not a hell of a lot of Microsoft news out there, but I can guarantee you there's a few people over at Hotmail that have got gray hairs.
There is, and before we get on to the story about Hotmail, I just very quickly want to say thank you to Sean, Aune, Rizzn Hopkins, Lindsey III, and Holden Page, our other staff writer at WinExtra, for standing in for me last week. It was a rather unique experience to sit down and actually watch the show at night, and me not be on it. It was definitely interesting, and we definitely have to get all the lads back. I'm working on a few ideas. Definitely. Although I have to send a message out to Sean and whoever he's paying to sneak into my house and steal my used underwear at night and post it to him. Can you please stop it, because I'm really getting tired of having to replace the lock on the back door. So.
Yeah. Oh God, trust Sean. Well, he's right now on his way to CES. And
when does CES kick off?
Well, the activity starts.
Us.
Well, Tuesday or when? Tuesday night. I think Tuesday night is when Ballmer does his big keynote speech. His
big monkey boy speech.
Yeah. And, we'll get into that.
I believe Livestream is going to have livestream.com is going to have a 24-hour live stream, so we may be able to keep up with it. We may even see Sean while he's down there.
Yeah, hopefully he won't break any more cameras. Yeah, but apparently, I guess there was a bug that showed up over at Hotmail that made emails and folders go missing for some users. But apparently it's been fixed.
Yeah, for the last day or two, about 24 to 72 hours. This has only hit a number of Hotmail users, not everybody. I wasn't personally affected. But, apparently email just, disappeared into the nether or ended up in their deleted folders or deleted items or whatnot. But, according to Microsoft, an update today for those of you who were, unable to use your accounts because of that, it has all been fixed and emails have been restored, and they've even included a little form just in case yours hasn't been 100% fixed, that you can send them in, and you'll find a link for that in the show notes and get yourself sorted. So Hotmail, which, we all laugh at Hotmail these days, or a lot of people laugh at Hotmail these days, but considering, according to ComScore anyway, it is the world's largest, most used email provider with 360 million users.
And really bound to get bigger as Windows or Xbox Live integration is sort of spread through, because you need a Windows Live ID, which includes your Hotmail address. So, that's a nice way to grow your user base, that's for sure.
At the door.
Yeah. Now, apparently, Matt Brecher is a developer who has created a Nintendo emulator for the Windows Phone 7, but he got smacked on the hand and told, no, it's not going to show up there.
I'm not in any way surprised by this. It's very much Microsoft. They're sort of taking the same approach as Apple did when it comes to emulators. The problem with emulators is that emulators, it's a software that is supposed to perfectly emulate the chips of another computer. Mm-hmm. Now, that involves a whole load of copyright problems. It involves a whole lot of rights ownership problems, IP problems. It also involves a lot of potential instability for the platform that is running the emulator, especially if people can get access to that code and if the code runs well. Because it takes a lot of processing power to emulate another computer, essentially, inside. Even if it is an older computer, like, say, a Commodore 64 or a Nintendo or whatnot. I suspect that what we will see is the emulators that will come out for Windows Phone 7 will be very similar to the ones that are currently available on the iPhone, which are ones where they're locked down. You can only play the games that the developer actually owns the rights for. And we'll see that. Of course, with the future coming up, we're supposed to see the ability to sideload being open to everybody in the future. We will definitely see, free and probably open source emulators, some of the more popular emulators come in that way, but they won't be through the App Store.
No.
Because, of course, Microsoft's thing here is about, if we're going to give it to you, we want to make sure it's stable.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that by selling it through our store, we're not getting implicated in any sort of...
No.
Because you must remember, Microsoft takes a cut off every sale. So if the emulator is violating rights, then Microsoft is doing that.
Yes,
and they have to avoid that problem.
Yeah. Now, some of the big news, I guess, coming because of CES is the fact that we might be seeing Windows 7 for ARM. Now, there's a post over at SiliconANGLE by John Casaretto, where he's titled "Rumored Windows 7 for ARM Announcement Lacks Novelty." Now, he made a point in here which really kind of was what got me, is that it's his opinion that Microsoft with Windows Phone 7, all right, went after the wrong market. That in his opinion, it was the enterprise was clearly their market, not the flashy, or as he put the flashy consumer-driven marketplace. And I beg to disagree, and disagree very strongly. I think Microsoft had to make this a consumer-driven product.
The enterprise is a very hard market to crack, right? Here's why. There's a lot of incumbent players.
Mm-hmm.
And enterprise phones generally are going to be locked into massive contracts and massive update schedules. An enterprise will go away and they'll, and an enterprise doesn't usually make their contracts, at least in my experience, with an individual phone manufacturer. They make it with a carrier.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you're in the UK, O2 will provide all the phones for your company, or Orange will provide all the phones for your company. They're the carrier, and they will have a range of phones that they provide, and you choose from the market. That makes it exceptionally difficult for Microsoft to come in, because Microsoft aren't a carrier.
No.
So now Microsoft would not only have to provide the software, partner with a hardware manufacturer to say, right, this is the phone that we're going to use for this. Plus, they would have to cut deals with a carrier in order to perform that. That's not the role for Microsoft. If they're going to go into actually delivering this as a platform to enterprise. Now, from the get-go, it was said that Windows Phone 7 would be a consumer product, which would be released to enterprise 12 months later.
Exactly.
That was always the idea. And you know what? It's the consumer on the ground who drives enterprise sales too. Because you need the techies, you need the people in the IT department to have the phone, to be playing with the phone, to want the phone, to use the phone. Because they're the people that influence the decision on the final model of phone that is purchased.
See, part of the problem, too, is I think everybody is sort of looking at Microsoft from its history. Okay, Microsoft was successful in the enterprise as a software developer with Windows because they could provide that lockdown. They could provide that cycle of products. And
they can still provide that.
Yeah.
But Microsoft has grown beyond being an enterprise company, and Microsoft needs to embrace the consumer market, and that's what they're doing now.
But the thing is that to compare Windows OS and Office, for example, with Windows Phone 7 is the wrong comparison to make because they're two totally different mindsets.
It's like trying to compare Mac OS X with iOS. again, they're two completely different. Well, okay, maybe not anymore now that we're going to get the App Store inside Mac OS X.
Yeah.
But they're two different mindsets. It's apples and oranges. And should Microsoft have gone over the enterprise market first, even if they could have, dealt with all those problems? No.
Yeah.
No, because it's a different game thinking for the enterprise.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset. We've said it a million times. What I want as a consumer, once, my workday comes to an end, is very different to what I want during my productivity time when I'm sitting here working. They're two different experiences.
Yes, and that's what I really bothered. It seems to be a misconception or whatever you want, but I just didn't agree at all with that article.
Very quickly though, before we move on, what do you think about the possibility of the ARM Windows 7 at CES? Now we know they bought the rights, okay?
Yeah.
And we know it is a very simple thing, well, relatively simple thing, let's say for Microsoft, to recompile for ARM. But they're not going to launch Windows 7 just, bare bones recompiled for ARM. Because to move an operating system to another chipset, especially one like ARM, requires not just recompiling, but we're talking about optimizing and cutting out large swaths of it and everything. And I really don't think Microsoft has had the time to do that between when the licensing agreement with ARM was launched and now.
Well, okay, here's the thing. We don't know how long Microsoft may have already had an agreement with ARM about, maybe using it in a different set of circumstances, but realized what they could do and then got the license to do it. Like, they could have already been partial, and I'm not saying they were, okay? I'm not saying they were.
You mean they could have been doing it on the sly?
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's not above them to do something like that.
It's not above them, but, recompiling for a new architecture like ARM. That's not something. The sheer amount of reverse engineering of ARM of the ARM architecture that would be required, because part of their license agreement is giving them access to documentation that otherwise would be available about the architecture.
I don't think you and I have talked about Windows 7 tablets before, and we sort of have a break-even point on this, where I consider the fact that Windows 7, as we know it, as desktop users know it, doesn't belong on a tablet. Okay, period. All right, that's my
and I think it's perfectly fine on a tablet as long as the screen stays above the, let's say, 8 inches in size mark. Otherwise, it becomes unusable.
Yeah. Whereas I'm suggesting, because I think the tablet is very similar to the Windows Phone 7, that is a consumer market. That is not the same thing, not the same enterprise type product as Windows OS is. Right.
Well, except that Microsoft is targeting the enterprise with their tablet offerings, from what we know.
Yeah, but they've been doing that for years.
Yeah, I know, but
and where's them?
This is the problem with Microsoft coming out, right? It's okay for Apple to turn around and come out with their consumer-only tablet, right? Because Apple just does elitist consumer devices with 1,000% markup, and only fools who have got more money than sense willingly pay that markup, which is, because it's a whole elitist thing. Okay, don't get me wrong, Apple makes some pretty nice devices. I've got my iPod Touch over there. We've got more iPods in this house than probably I've got fingers on my hands. But Microsoft always has to cater to two markets, especially now that they're becoming a consumer company. They have to cater to the consumer, and they have to cater to the enterprise, and they're expected to do that. And the analysts will slap them up backside of their head if they don't do it. And so will the market. And as we just discussed, it's two different mindsets. And Microsoft, unfortunately, unless we see something new, even though they are still, as we said, they're diverging in their interests. But unless we see them launch maybe two separate tablets targeting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Two separate types of tablets targeting two separate markets. Microsoft is more than likely going to go down that line of trying to tie both into the one device.
Yeah. Well,
that's not good.
Yeah, like in line with CES coming, Paul Thurrott has a nice little post up. What the heck was it? For Microsoft, close that. For Microsoft, 2011 is to be the year of the tablet again. And he says in it, and you highlighted, I believe it was you that highlighted this in the show notes. He states, while this rumor hasn't been confirmed, Ballmer will almost certainly show off this early Windows 8 UI at CES, which explains why the Windows team won't be on hand at the show. The company wishes for its public demonstration during the keynote to stand on its own, and for individual reporters and bloggers not to get mini-scooped by applying, the employees for information. You know what? I said this. I think it was with Art when we were talking about CES. I don't want to hear about Windows 8 yet. I really don't. Don't get me wrong. I do as a blogger, but.
You do for page views.
Yeah, but I don't from a consumer. I don't want to hear about it until maybe mid-spring or early summer when we get an early beta. I want because we ran into such a big problem with Vista and Longhorn and this supposed open communication, and Sinofsky squashed that with Windows 7, and I'm glad he did, because I think there's a fine line that Microsoft has to walk when it comes to communicating with the consumers, okay? And I think they walked it pretty well with Windows 7, and I'd like to see them do exactly the same thing with Windows 8. Keep it...
No.
Go ahead.
No, you first. Go on.
No, I just, keep it on the QT. Keep it as quiet as you possibly can until the very last minute, and then surprise us. Please.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. I mean, Thurrott's reasoning, besides the fact that the Windows team themselves aren't going to be there for this, is because it's also in line with it's the same timetable that Sinofsky had for Windows 7 in terms of we get a sneak peek, and then we get a beta, and this all sort of falls in line with that. Microsoft maybe might want to take a little line out of sort of Apple playbook and just say nothing at all.
Yep.
I would love basically Microsoft to just say, look, you know what? Nothing is coming out about Windows 8 until Windows 8 is at just before it goes gold.
I don't mind the beta, the public beta. All right. Granted, we're going to hear rumblings and when it goes into private beta. That's inevitable. Somebody's going to break their NDA and get slapped.
Yeah, whatever. Somebody's going to leak it. People are going to leak screenshots. But letting us know right now is the wrong thing to do. Now, I can understand why. Okay, because if Ballmer makes an announcement and it looks pretty good and whatnot, Microsoft stock is going to go up for a while. Okay, until the analysts turn around and some tit at Goldman Sachs or somewhere says something utterly retarded because they're protecting their clients' interests, most of which are Apple, by the way. Hint, hint, look, nod, nod. Sarah, what's her name a couple of weeks ago? Let's not divulge that, shall we, when we're writing our articles. Yeah. But anyway, and that works in that sense. But Microsoft needs to, first off, don't let fucking Ballmer on stage, okay? We need, Microsoft, we need a front man, okay? A face, a personality. Somebody that can get up there and talk and be enthusiastic and not sound like a monkey boy and, really show these things off. Clone Steve Jobs if you have to. I don't care.
One blog, I think it was WMP Power User, suggested that Joe Balafori.
I'm not familiar what his stage presence is.
He did the Windows Phone 7 session with Ballmer on the launch.
Yeah, but you know what? I believe I said it to you during IM when he was on stage. I remember this now because the two of us were watching it on live stream. He comes across as a car salesman, and I don't like that.
Okay. Right.
I don't like that. Because that was the one where they rolled out the guy from AT&T, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you could see he was reading from the script at the bottom. We need somebody who's not going to come out there and read off the script. Who knows what they're talking about and who's buy somebody, okay? You can afford to hire people to do this. Buy somebody. Make them the front person, the voice.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be Bammer. Just because he's the CEO, just because he's the CEO, just because he's the big wig, doesn't mean he has to be the one that makes the announcements. As the big wig, he should know that you have the right man for the right job. And Bammer has proved time and time again that on stage he is not the right man for the right job. Do we have to go back to Windows 3.1 and him telling us how wonderful the clock was? Okay.
All right. Two last pieces of Kinect news. One of the rumors that was running around the web over the weekend was that Gears of War Ultimate, which was going to be the repackaging of 1 and 2 of Gears of War, was going to come out with Kinect support. No.
Dude, I'm ready to go. I really got behind this rumor because this rumor was doing the rounds everywhere, right? And and it was actually... It was bloody plausible, and it was making sense, and I thought, you know, Gears has got a very it's got a very simple interface for an FPS, you know, it's not too complex. It'd be very easy to connect the fight.
Yeah. Well, apparently...
Microsoft then turned around this morning and said, no, all that's coming in the new Gears is you get, in Gears of War Ultimate is 1 and 2, and a token to download all the content. And I'm like, well, bugger that for a game of darts.
Stick Skills has the clarification, quote, a clarification response to recent article, Microsoft will release a Gears of War bundle this spring. It will be a collection of the first 2 Gears of War games and a token to download all previous released Gears of War 2 add-ons via Xbox Live. It will not include any new or additional features such as Kinect support.
I know, and I'm thinking... There has to be something new in there, or why release this? Yeah. For those of us who already own 1 of the 2 games, what is the purpose for you going ahead and buying this unless there's going to be something extra? There should always be an incentive, because even though a lot of people, you know, will say, well, I already own 1, so I won't buy it. Yeah. But if there's something exclusive to this pack, a lot of people, a small percentage, but a lot of people will spend the money to have the game again just because it is the ultimate version. So they're missing out on an opportunity there too.
But one game that apparently could possibly have Kinect support, because they've already got it working in the lab, I guess, is Rizzn, which is a game from Evolus. We're going to sort of end the show with a video from the testing they've got. But yeah, and they say that almost any mouse-controlled game can be played that way.
Well, that's what we saw last week. You had a video on, was it with Art, I think? Or somebody, you had the World of Warcraft video on, where Warcraft was controlled. And these interfaces now, basically, if you can map a keyboard control to do an action, then you can map an action and connect to it, and it just moves and it works. Rizzn is some sort of top-down.
Yeah, it's like it's a civilization type of war game, you know. But
it looks pretty good, and we'll give people a big shot of it in the outro there. To keep up.
But on that note, this has been Daily Brief for January 2nd, 2011.
Today's the 3rd, Stephen.
3rd.
You're still getting it wrong. We've entered into 2011, and you're still getting it wrong. And even the lads last week were giving you hassle.
Yeah, anyway, folks, Paul's back. Glad to see you. And we'll be back tomorrow. This is Stephen.
In the meantime,
yes,
you can find us youtube.com/WinExtra, WinExtra.tv, WinExtra.com itself, and drop along to iTunes to get this in audio podcast if you'd rather listen to the audio version rather than look at 2 of our...
Yeah, I've actually got that working.
Just search for WinExtra on iTunes.
Yeah, I got that finally working. So, until tomorrow, everybody, this is Steve, that's Paul, we'll see ya.
Have a good one, folks.
Waiting for orders, sir. General, the Calliope Squadron is waiting for orders. We should keep an infantry rear guard to avoid any surprises. The Jackson tank hunters just arrived, sir. It's almost time for a showdown with our Russian allies.
What should we expect from them, sir?
With Prometheus working for them from the beginning, it could be anything.